You know, I never thought about just playing with my dad, but of course he's brought it up a couple times.
Never said on the table, we'll talk about a second-round pick.
But this is LeBron James' son, and that is a legitimate storyline.
G-League, he will pack G-League arenas, merchandising, all of those make him an attractive player. Whether
I know what I might say in this video may have me come off as a hater, and I just want you to know that I want nothing but success for every human in this world. I just feel like there is a little bit of sketchiness to Bronny James's entire pre-draft process, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Maybe I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, or maybe after watching this video, you'll agree with me, because we have so much new information since my last update a week ago. So before we get to the content, we are 80,000 subscribers away from 1 million subs. So if you want to support us, make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications. Also, give me an idea, what should we do for 1 million subs? What should we give away? I really want to thank you guys. You guys changed my life, and I wanted to make sure that I could at least somewhat repay the favor. Now that we get all that out of the way, do the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Bronny James's last year has been insane. I mean, we were all excited to see what he could do at the college ranks. This is a player that we've all been monitoring since he was in 8th grade. He's LeBron James's son, for crying out loud. And throughout this entire process, LeBron made it known what he wants for his son and for himself.
I want him to get to the NBA. I want to be on the sand. I want to be on the court with him. I think that would be an unbelievable moment.
Who do you want to play with?
Bronny is number one on my list.
That's dope.
He's number one on my list that I want to play with.
I know I show these clips in each and every Bronny James video, but it's so important to set the context in this situation. Things were going swimmingly for Bronny. He wasn't necessarily the highest rated draft prospect before he entered USC, but everybody thought that once he got to college, he could prove a lot of doubters wrong. But right when Bronny was getting ready to go to USC with a pretty exciting recruiting class, the unthinkable happened. A congenital heart defect changed everything. And there was a question of whether or not he could play basketball again. Now, I've been on the record multiple times throughout the past saying that I'm a little sketched out by the fact that he was cleared to play with a congenital heart defect. I'm not a doctor though, but I have a childhood best friend that is a cardiologist, and his father was a cardiologist, and when I asked both of them, is this normal? They didn't necessarily say it was normal. But we're talking about LeBron James Jr. and the James family, so I'm gonna go and have good faith that they know what they're doing and sought out second opinions, and Bronny is truly okay to play basketball. But despite him being okay to play basketball for the long term, in the short term, it didn't seem like he'd be okay to play basketball. He was terrible at USC. There was no question about it. This man was not ready for the NBA. It could be because he just isn't talented, and it could be a product of his circumstances. Regardless, no one is going to dispute the fact that Bronny didn't seem ready to play in the NBA, averaging 4.8 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists per game, 36.6% from the field, and 27% from three, while averaging 19.4 minutes per game. The man just clearly wasn't ready. He was listed as a 6'4" guard for USC when he was in shoes, but the reality was he's more like 6'1". So this clearly threw a wrench in LeBron's plans, because originally the plan was to play with Bronny the moment he'd be ready, but clearly Bronny wasn't ready. And the funniest part is, as people started criticizing LeBron James, he started to go out to bat for his son. And I personally found this to be very interesting, because the pressure on Bronny came as a result of LeBron James saying that he wants to play with his son. He first said he'd play with his son, then he would say he would play on whatever team drafted his son. And the moment that he got heat and criticism for this, and he saw that he was bringing his son into this, it seemed like he backpedaled, but at that point it was too late. LeBron James would famously tweet in February, "Can y'all please just let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball? The work and results will ultimately do the talking no matter what he decides to do. If y'all don't know, he doesn't care what a mock draft says, he just works. Earned, not given." But like literally 1 year prior, LeBron James would tweet out, "Man, Bronny's definitely better than some of these cats I've been watching on League Pass today." lightweight hilarious? Or what about the time where he said we could use Bronny on the Lakers right now? The pressure generated on Bronny is a result of his father, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because typically a father challenges his son and that could result in the son crumbling under pressure or becoming great. It's just part of being a father. It's a parenting technique, but you can't put pressure on your son and then say,
hey everybody, can we stop putting pressure on my son?
When most of it's generated from your actions. So going into the combine, there was a question of if Bronny would even get drafted, and now there's conflicting reports in regards to where Bronny will be drafted. On one hand, there are some positives. He's shown that he's capable of making jump shots when he made 12 shots in a row during the combine. He also exhibited one of the highest 40-inch verticals in the very weak draft class that is 2024. But this is when I started to get a little skeptical about Bronny James's situation. It seemed like the insiders that I personally trusted a lot started coming up with the most bizarre reasons for Bronny to get drafted. Look, Woj, I know you blocked me on Twitter. I still have a lot of love for you, and you're still one of my sources for the NBA. Although I have to admit, the whole blocking thing made me like Shams a little bit better than you. But when he's going on national television and saying that the reason teams would draft Bronny is so he could sell G League merchandise, that's when I started to get a little skeptical about these insiders just pumping up LeBron James's son.
Yeah, Bronny James is going to have an impact for organizations, not just on the basketball side, but potentially on the business side. He's almost assuredly going to start in the G League. He will pack G League arenas, merchandising, all of those make him an attractive player, whether it's late first round or second round. So I think certainly his opportunity to play in the NBA is there.
Now I wanted to mention, a huge part of the James family's plan for Bronny was to make sure that Bronny never spoke to the media, which I think was a good move, and I think the time that they decided to allow him to speak to the media was excellent. When you're a young kid, you might say the wrong thing, the media could twist it, but in this particular instance, I think the timing was spectacular. So Bronny addressed the media for the first time, and I think the questions that the media even asked him were pretty awesome.
Who are some of the guys that you look at around the NBA?
Guys like Davion Mitchell, Drew Holiday, Derek White, just to name a few, like just the guys that excel in their role and, you know, get good money and get good playing time from it, because they are, you know, locked into that role and know what they're supposed to do. So I feel like, you know, if I have a chance to do that, then
But probably the most important part of this entire pre-draft process was when Bronny took a stand and said, I want to be Bronny James and I don't want to consistently be associated with my dad.
One time your dad was like, oh, it's like my dream to play with my son, but I don't know if like anybody had ever asked you, like, did you ever like dream about playing with your dad, like for you, or like what went to it from your perspective?
No, never. You know, my dream has always just been to put my name out, make a name for myself. And of course, you know, get to the NBA, which is everyone's end goal is here. And you know, I never thought about just playing with my dad, but of course he's brought it up a couple times. But yeah, I don't think about it much.
And it seems like LeBron James is starting to follow the new tune that was set.
You know, I'm just kind of in this mode right now because I'm getting the same, you know, thing from watching my son, who's a 19-year-old, kind of getting a lot of animosity and hatred towards him when he's just a kid trying to live out his dream. You know, there's a very small number of men and women that actually get to live out their dream of playing a professional sport. And we have grown men and women out here doing whatever they can to try to make sure that does not happen. That is the weirdest thing in the world, but it is what it is. And
now, could there be a chance that this is a learning moment for LeBron James where he didn't really realize the amount of pressure that he was putting on his son? Yeah, most definitely. I don't think LeBron is being malicious. It's just very hard for me to believe that LeBron James, who has been in the NBA for 21 years, who has the media following him for about 25 years now, is this unaware of the pressure that he generated on his son from the very beginning. It's very unlikely to me that LeBron just now is realizing what he is doing to his son. I mean, just based upon the combine, listen to what people are saying about his son.
And I watched Bronny, and he's athletic enough. He runs the floor well. You know he's going to be a smart kid. I don't worry about any of the intangible stuff.
And it's not just Colin Cowherd, by the way. ESPN is starting to hype him up.
Never sat on the table where we'll talk about a second-round pick.
But this is LeBron James' son, and that is a legitimate storyline that one of the greatest of all times has a son trying to play in the NBA at the same time.
And you have to give Bronny credit for actually trying to say the right things, showing up in the right places. And at the end of the day,
and by the way, I like seeing LeBron in the stands as a proud dad. I like that. That's a great example for fatherhood.
He's the #1 scorer in NBA.
What does that have to do with his son being at the draft
Scottie Pippen's kid was playing on the Lakers.
We didn't shine the light on Scottie Pippen's son like this. We can't move the goalposts and feel like we go do it when it's convenient. For us.
But probably the most viral piece of content is apparently an NBA scout released this information on Bronny James. The first scout said he's a positional athlete and he doesn't function as an elite athlete. He should be a point guard based on his size, but he can't run an offense. And to be honest, that is very true. Bronny is 6'1". They listed him as 6'4" in shoes, but you don't typically see him creating plays for his team. He's usually generating points off of catch and shoot opportunities and pull-up jumpers. He's handicapped as a shooting guard because he can't shoot. He's 0 for 4 on threes one day, 1 for 3 the other day. He needs screens to create space, and his only scoring came on paint touch floaters. He can only go left. He can only go left is one of the worst things you could say to any basketball player ever, because it's absolutely crippling for a basketball player's game to only be able to go on one side. But there's no question that players do typically come into the league favoring one side over the other. It's up to the player to develop both sides. His strength is supposed to be defensively, but he's a switch matchup. Every bigger player that switched on to him scored. His pro comp is insane. He's a poor man's Davion Mitchell. And probably the most brutal part of the scouting report is he is not an NBA prospect. NBA scouts who said, if the Lakers don't draft him, I don't think anyone will draft him. Teams would want him on a 2A, and I don't think Clutch would want that. It's an absolutely brutal report, but this is professional basketball we're talking about. It'd be a cute fairy tale story if Bronny was able to make it to the NBA to play with his dad. A poor man's Davion Mitchell is insane, but you can see why I'm so skeptical, because there's such a contradiction between mass media outlets and then these scouts, which we ought to also discuss whether or not these are legitimate scouts or if it's just some fan writing all of this information and posting it for the masses, which I also could accept. But even currently, the post-combine mock draft from ESPN has Bronny James being selected 54th overall. I think it's really cute that Bronny is trying to set his own name and his own legacy in the NBA, and I think it's also adorable that LeBron is trying to remove the pressure from his kid, but we gotta be real at this point. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If Bronny wanted to set his own name and his own legacy apart from his father, he should have returned to USC. He still can return to USC, by the way. The media is saying it's unlikely that he does this, but it's still possible. But you can't say that you're gonna declare for the NBA draft after barely averaging 5 points per game in college off of 36% shooting from the field, hope to get drafted just from the merit of being LeBron James's son, and then say you want to carve out your own career regardless of being LeBron James's son. You either have to fully commit to creating a career for yourself regardless of being LeBron James's son, and that would be returning to school, working on your game, and hoping you get drafted, or fully buy into the nepotism here, which is declaring for the NBA draft prematurely, accepting that you're probably going to go undrafted or selected by the Lakers in the second round, and then getting to play with your father for a year or two. And to be honest, if you're Bronny, which decision would you make here? What is the right decision? For all you know, you could return to college and it could result in you not getting drafted anyway. Don't get me wrong, you could return to college and you could work on your game and develop point guard skills and then declare for the NBA draft and maybe get selected in the first round. Or for all you know, the nepotism pays off. Maybe being in the locker room with LeBron James and going to work with your dad each and every day could be the difference in creating a good career for yourself. At the end of the day, Bronny needs to select which decision is right for him, but he can't have it both ways. You can't come out and say that I want to create my own career based off of my own game and what I bring to the table as a basketball player, and then at the same time try to leverage the fact that your father is one of the greatest players of all time, and hopefully you'll get drafted as a result of it. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this latest Bronny James update? I know it's a lot, and let me know what you think Bronny should do, where you think he'll be drafted. Do you think the media is being fair to Bronny? Do you think they're being too harsh to Bronny? Do you think the pressure on Bronny is warranted? Do you think LeBron is being unfair and inconsistent with us? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.